who are these agents, right? Like, that's the question. It's like, how many of them are just sort of like former edgelords who've been just hanging in their mom's basement, just looking for a job, have dreams of, holding a gun, going after brown people?
Hello and welcome to the Bulwark Podcast. I'm your host, Tim Miller. It is Thursday, and I'm delighted to be here with my friend, the managing editor of the Bulwark, the man Stephen Miller called Repugnant, the interrupter-in-chief at Sam Stein. Repugnant.
Thank you.
Stein. How you doing,
Thank you. I'm not going to interrupt you. I promise.
I don't believe you. I'm going to be interrupting you. We have an insane amount of stuff to cover today. I was going to do a potpourri of like things that I haven't gotten to that are also in the news, but I don't know. Yeah. We might not get to those today either.
I sent you like 5.
I know. We'll see. We're going to try to get to them at the end. We'll see how it goes. But we got to start with more news out of Minneapolis. Last night around 9 o'clock, federal agents shot rubber bullets and released gas canisters in North Minneapolis as protesters gathered after a federal agent shot a migrant in the leg. I want to play just a little bit of the audio from the scene.
Oh, I got hit in the head really bad.
This is going to be a photographer from Status Coup News. We're going to be playing a couple things from them today. Well, I guess before we get to the DHS's story about what happened, I guess initial thoughts on the escalation last night.
So, it's getting like, well, it's well past the point of disturbing, but it's getting really like defeating. You feel defeated watching this stuff because this is a major U.S. city that is under siege by its own government. I mean, there's no other way to really look at it. What they've done is they've sent thousands of ICE agents into a city that doesn't want them, doesn't need them, isn't asking for them, and it's just stirring shit up. And it's so obvious what the goal is here is they're just trying to create chaos to justify more federal authorities going in there. I mean, Trump this morning, as we are recording this, is talking about using the Insurrection Act, which basically would allow for the deployment of the military. So I guess the question, Tim, I don't really understand is like, what is the endgame for Trump here?
They're trying to instigate unrest. I just think that it's extremely obvious. Nothing could be more obvious that's what they're trying to do.
But what's the endgame of that?
Well, as you mentioned, he wants to invoke the Insurrection Act.
But what's the end game of that?
And then it's a combination of things. There are two. Yeah. I think there are a few things happening. There's like a psychodrama at play here, where Donald Trump and other people involved wish they would have cracked down on protesters harder after George Floyd. And there is a psychological element to this.
Sure.
There's a policy element to this from Stephen Miller, who is just looking for more and more creative ways to try to figure out how he can deport people as fast as possible and menace people. And that is like he has an ideological project. There are only a couple ideological projects in this administration: Trump loving tariffs and Stephen Miller wanting to deport brown people are like the main two. And, he was bombing drug boats in Venezuela as like a triple bank shot effort to try to get more rationale for deporting Venezuelans. So I don't see why this is any different than that. And I also think that there's a political element to this. This is the part that I'm more skeptical of. I think they think it's a winner. I mean, Trump, in one of his press briefings last 2 days, he was like chipper. You know, like more than we've seen him in the past few days. He's like, we're feeling good. Things are going well. Maybe it was the Tony DeCouple interview where he's at that I'm thinking of. And I think that they thought that things were going badly at the end of last year, and the Epstein files and economy and just a wide range of things, and that this has them on offense. I remain a little skeptical that that's going to work, but I think they think that.
I remain very skeptical. Okay, I'm putting aside the morality of it. Let's just like talk about the politics of it. All right, one. This is, and now fairly convincing amount of polling data to show that this is not working out, right? Like people are turning against Trump on immigration and they're turning against ICE. And there's like this YouGov Economist poll where they saw the majority of the public now wants to abolish ICE. That's just one poll. I'm not thinking it's real or anything like that, but whatever. It shows the trends.
We're going to get into that.
Yeah. And then two, it's like, let's say they take it to the logical conclusion where they've, called in the military, they've decimated a major American city, they've ripped apart communities, all the Somali Americans are gone, businesses are ravaged, neighborhoods are upended, people are bruised and in the hospital, some are dead. What are you? Hey, we won, we did it. Look, how does that work? I don't really see how that works. What are they going to do when it's all said and done? Hey, we cleaned out your city. You should be grateful for us. No one's going to be grateful for that. I saw the tweet you put up about that dude, and maybe we'll get into it later, who came out and protested.
Dude, in 1 second, I just want to say, just really quick about their psychology. Trump's not a long game thinker. Stein is a long game thinker. You know what I mean? I don't think Trump was thinking about what his long-term plan was for stealing the election in 2020. He was just living a day at a time, like throwing out whatever random thing Sidney Powell told him. And I think we're in a similar situation there. He's winning. He sees himself as winning the news cycle. Anyway, let's play this guy. You're talking
this
about
guy's great.
And I just think he's so representative of why I agree with you that I think this is a medium-term political loser for them. And this is a guy, this is also from Status Quo News, so shout out to those guys who are on the ground in Minnesota. And this is just a man on the street interview. And it really made my morning. Sorry, there's going to be some cussing if you got some kids in the car. So
it's good to have cussing now. Yeah.
Ever gone out to these sort of things before? Never. I've never protested in my life. My brother's here. He does it all the time. I've never. Yeah. Like I said, I'm far enough away, but close enough. And I sit in my cushy house and look at shit and get mad. And they're just trying to fucking scare people. And, but why shoot people? You know what really pisses me off is the fact that they detain people, cuff them, and then still beat the shit out of them. They tell you it's immigrants, only immigrants. It's fucking anybody. I have friends that got detained, and all they were doing was fucking driving home from work. What the fuck?
Sounds like you don't fit the definition of the...
No, and I'm not fucking paid to be here like everybody fucking says. What the fuck is that? I gotta work in the goddamn morning, just like everybody else. I'm just here trying to stand up for community, dude. We're all human beings here. I don't give a shit who you are, where you came from, what color you are. It doesn't fucking matter. This is wrong.
I gotta work in the goddamn morning, just like everybody else. That's my Rick Santelli. You know Rick Santelli, the variant that supposedly started the Tea Party? This is my Rick Santelli moment, this guy.
It reminded me a little bit. It might be your Rick Santelli moment. And actually, the first thing that it reminded me of was there's like the semi-viral clip on January 6th of this guy who lived on Capitol Hill. Do you remember this one? And he was like outside his door and he's like, what the fuck? They're fucking marching on our fucking Capitol? What the fuck? And it's like, sometimes you just got to step back and be like, wait a second. This is not normal. Like, what is actually going on here? What are we living through? This is dystopian. This is authoritarian. And I thought the most interesting thing, and I know it seems so silly to focus on this, but he's like, I don't do protests.
Yeah, no, that's the point. That's what's so powerful.
I don't do protests. This is not, I've never done protests. I look at things on my computer and get mad. I don't go outside.
My brother's a protester. My brother's telling me about protests when I'm drinking a couple beers, okay, at the kid's birthday party.
What's he saying? He's going to them now?
Yeah, he's going.
Wow, good for him. I will say, you see them sporadically, but I was out. My wife and I were out we're going to go adopt a dog. I don't know why we're doing this again, but we drove out 2 hours into the Shenandoah Valley in Virginia, this small little town, like nobody there. We get off the highway and it's, 35 degrees and raining and no one should be outside. There was 100 people just on the, off the highway protesting ICE in this small nothing town. It's all anecdotal. I sound like Tom Friedman right now, but whatever. That should, I think it matters, right? I don't know.
I was in the Shenandoah wine country.
And I turned to my Uber driver.
Unhappy. So what sparked all of this, just for folks who are trying to get caught up, we're going to caveat this, that everything that Kristi Noem and Tricia McLaughlin at DHS have said has been a lie, basically, from the start.
You don't trust Tricia McLaughlin?
I really don't. But they sent a post about the shooting that started this, and I do just want to read a little bit from it because it it's such a perfect encapsulation of these guys. It's combining menace and racism and just silly incompetence. It's like a kind of yakety sax, racist at Fargo episode. So here's what they posted about the shooting that prompted this. We found an illegal alien from Venezuela who was released in the country by Joe Biden in 2022. In an attempt to evade arrest, the subject fled from the scene in his vehicle. and crashed into a parked car. The subject then fled on foot. The law enforcement officer caught up to the subject on foot, attempted to apprehend him. And while the subject and law enforcement were in a struggle on the ground, 2 other subjects came out of a nearby apartment and attacked the law enforcement officer with a snow shovel and a broom handle. As the officer was being attacked by the 2 individuals, the subject got loose and began striking the officer. Fearing for his life, the officer fired a defensive shot. The initial suspect was hit in the leg. Who knows if that actually happened?
Hold on. Do you think Trisha McLaughlin has like a Google Doc with like stock answers for things, and she's just got to fill in a few details?
Yeah.
Because it always reads the same, right? It's like, Joe Biden released this Tren de Aragua member and he evaded police and they had to fire a defensive shot. Just, mix up a few new details to keep it fresh.
Well,
right?
we need to ask ChatGPT though to like add in a few Minnesota-ish details.
Exactly.
It's like we were slipping on the ice. We were caught in an ice flow, and he skated away. Even if their story is true, it's ridiculous. Like, this is not necessary. We do not we do not need car chases through the frigid Minnesota winter to go after a Venezuelan migrant. Like, if you know where this guy lives, then fucking go to his house and bring an arrest warrant. Like, this is not necessary.
I mean, so much of this is just theater. Like that, little Border Patrol dude walking through Target. Some of this, I think, is them trying to please the boss. Some of this, I think, is them trying to terrorize people so they just self-deport. And it's just so unnecessary.
So the response is, where is the question now? We'll start with I think the people that have made really honorable decisions. We should just shout out first, which is the prosecutors in Minnesota. There have been 6 at this point who have resigned their jobs because...
Oh, you didn't see Pam Bondi yesterday?
I did see it. Go ahead.
They didn't resign. I fired them, Sean Hannity. It's like, I think they're going to resign, Pam.
Yeah, but they're being pressured, I guess, to investigate the widow of Renee Good, and who knows what other ridiculous kind of immigration investigations you're getting at. And I talked to a friend who's has somebody in their life that is a prosecutor in one of these random kind of districts, and they're just like, please don't let there be some immigration thing here, or else I'm gonna have to leave my job, right? Like, it's just like, that's just the reality right now. Like, I think that you'd maybe think that maybe the people in Minnesota were the prosecutors are thinking, okay, we could be a little bit separate from this. We can focus on crime. Like, we're not exactly close to the border, but here they are. So good on those prosecutors. The next step is the big question. We talked about this a little bit on the next level, but I'm seeing more and more of a groundswell for this among the Democrats, which is that Tim Walz should call in the National Guard himself first before Trump does. And I don't know. I don't think that's crazy. Like, I would have thought that was crazy a month ago, I think, or a couple months ago. It doesn't feel crazy now. There's a legitimate reason to do it, given the way that ICE, the federal officials, are menacing the community. That also just hands them what they want, though, which is pretext for invoking the Insurrection Act, and they would do it within 2 seconds after Tim Walz deployed the National Guard. So you do have to kind of consider a couple moves down the field. But I'm wondering what you think about it. If you're seeing the same buzz around that question as I am.
It's definitely escalatory. My inclination is you don't want to escalate anymore, right? You would hate to see a situation where they call in the Guard, then they call in the military, and then you have it's a real fucking tinderbox. I can't believe we're actually talking about this. Again, step back. What is going on?
Over nothing, right? It's kind of like, when was I did an interview for tomorrow's show where we do look back to civil rights era stuff, and it's like, okay, well, having a confrontation between local officials and federal officials, about desegregating the schools, it's like sensible. Like, that's a real thing, right? It's worth fighting for on the federal level. This is over nothing. Right, like, we would really have like a confrontation between state and federal law enforcement officials over like imaginary Somali immigrant crime problems.
And if it were over corruption and the abuse of the social safety net by these Somali immigrant communities, which there are real instances of this, then they wouldn't have forced out this attorney. He's one of the 6 attorneys who is leading the corruption cases and had surfaced incredible amounts of grift.
It is reminiscent of them kicking out Maureen Comey. It's like, we care about pedophiles, and so we're going to fire the woman who is like the top prosecutor in the government for going after child sex trafficking, you know?
So back to your question of what is like the play here. Look, I could sit here and make the argument. I'm not saying I believe it. I can make the argument, though, that the play here would be for Tim Walz to make a phone call to Donald Trump. I can make that argument because time and again, you see the best way to ramp down things is just a one-on-one phone call. Like the Colombia president, Petro, basically calling Trump and being like, hey, you know, let's work together. And Trump being like, okay, cool, we got it. I'm not saying that's the way to do it because obviously you can't, you know, part of me is like, you can't give into this shit.
Yeah.
But
and Walz, I feel a little bit of a category difference because Trump gets certain boogeyman's in his head. And
he'll call him Tampon Tim or something on the phone and just descend into chaos. But like, okay, maybe Klobuchar makes the call. I don't know. It's just, I just don't know. It's like, I want to see this end. Like, I want to see this end. This is heartbreaking to watch a great city and a community that doesn't deserve this have to deal with this shit. And frankly, it's in normal times, a reasonable president and administration would be doing the exact opposite of this. They'd be trying to tamp down the tensions, but we don't live in
every president we've had in our lifetimes, at least.
Yeah, I don't want to say normal times. In any time, it was like would be that case.
Yeah, and maybe Nixon, Andrew Johnson, a couple others might have been tempted to do something like this. But like, I should say, as the former Republican on the show, like, there's a lot of lip service, like adding to the list of all the principles and arguments that were made my entire life that they've abandoned. You know, the state and local government knows best. You know, like we don't need the federal government telling us what to do. You know, states' rights, like all of the like federalism. We're a republic, not a democracy.
This is not a conservative administration, dude. Yeah, this has nothing to do with Republicans.
It is. I know, but it's noteworthy. There's who is anyone making that argument? No. Like the two libertarians, Rand and Tom Massey, are the two.
Yeah, basically.
So whatever. Shout out to Reason Magazine. Man, let me tell you, hiring can be a little bit of a drag. It can be fun. I love hearing from people. I made the mistake of throwing out one of our open job opportunities at the end of a podcast a couple of weeks ago, and it was unbelievable, the amount of people that nominated themselves, and I appreciated hearing their stories and all their emails, but at the same time, you know, if you're running an actual company, which thank God I don't have to do, we got other people around here running the company, they need a real system. They need something that is going to make that process better for everybody. And I'd recommend you turn to our friends at ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter's matching technology works fast to find top talent so you don't waste time or money. You can find out right away how many job seekers in your area are qualified for the role. With ZipRecruiter's advanced resume database, you can instantly unlock top candidates' contact info. No wonder ZipRecruiter is the #1 rated hiring site. Let ZipRecruiter help you find the best people for all your roles. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. See for yourself. Just go to this exclusive web address right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. ZipRecruiter.com/Bulwark. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/Bulwark. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. One more thing on ICE. There was this great Slate article you should read about a woman who like tried to volunteer for ICE and
I loved it.
Yeah, and she's like, she has no experience. Or I guess she's been in the military, but she had like a huge period of time where she's been a journalist where she shits on Trump. And so it's like she left that off her resume and just kind of lied and said she was a gig worker during that period of time. And they fast track her to become an ICE agent, and they give her a formal offer to become an ICE agent. Meanwhile, there's a story out simultaneous to this, which kind of explains part of this, which is that as ICE is trying to add new officers, they used AI to go through the applications, and anyone who had used the word officer in their cover letter or resume was put in the fast track pile because AI just assumed they'd been a police officer before. And so, like, you know, let's say you were a compliance officer for a company, or you'd written that you aspire to be an officer. You got put in the like, don't need to vet this person, fast track line. These are the people we're sending into the American streets.
I mean, it's remarkable. I have a vision of this that like, so who are these agents, right? Like, that's the question. It's like, how many of them are just sort of like former edgelords who've been just hanging in their mom's basement, just looking for a job, have dreams of, you know, holding a gun, going after brown people, Can I bring up my boy Harry Phones at this point?
Sure. We can, for the video people, we can put it on screen and, we'll play a little clip.
This is Harry Phones, Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary at the Department of Homeland Security. This week, DHS law enforcement surged over 2,000 officers and agents to the sanctuary city of Minneapolis to investigate the rampant fraud in the state of Minnesota and conduct targeted immigration enforcement operations. Tragically, on Wednesday, we saw the direct consequences of constant attacks and demonization of our officers by sanctuary politicians. A woman weaponized her vehicle to obstruct law enforcement. When officers commanded her to get out of the vehicle several times, she ignored them and attempted to run over federal law enforcement officers. An ICE officer, fearing for his life, the lives of his fellow law enforcement, and the safety of the public, fired defensive shots at the vehicle, resulting in the death of the driver. He used his training and he saved his own life and that of his fellow officers. Our prayers are with our officers, the deceased, and her family. We have been very clear. We stand with our law enforcement as they work tirelessly to make communities across the nation safer.
Okay, there you go.
So this guy, I mean, I don't want to make fun of him because he'll probably sick ICE agents on me for doing so. But like, who is this guy?
We can't even see all of them. I mean, because he doesn't kind of fit on the screen.
That's what I was not trying to do that. But who is this guy? Why is he? Where did he come from? It turns out he was at Hillsdale College or
Shocker.
Director of Communications for the House Select Committee on Economic Disparity and Fairness and Growth.
Him and the Andrew Edgar were in the same band, I think, at Hillsdale.
He was at the Freedom Caucus. I mean, like, this guy just came up through where? He graduated college in 2015. He's young. He hasn't done much in his life. And yet here he is instructing, HHS policy on how to do anti-rice rioting. And like, I don't think they're sending their best and brightest. No. I get a whiff of that.
No, I think if you do any reading about the 1930s, you find that a lot of commissars rose to high ranks just out of loyalty, not out of skill. And it's a pretty common story. I want to do one more thing on the Democrats and the politics of this, because the Tim Walz decision, I think, is legitimately fraught. And, it's easy for people on the internet to be like, go in the guard, fuck these guys, let's accelerationism. But it's like, it's a legitimately fraught decision. Some of the stuff's not that fraud, and I'm getting a little annoyed. And I got to tell you, if national Democrats keep arguing about whether or not to say abolish ICE and keep giving speeches about whether abundance is a good idea or not, I'm going to light myself on fire. I'm looking into self-immolation right now, because it's like, what the fuck are these people doing? Like, are you awake? Like, why is Elizabeth Warren giving a speech, engaging in internet fights and like taking sides in Twitter wars? Why are memos being put out about exactly how Democrats should talk about ICE? Like, fight ICE. This isn't hard. Fight Stephen Miller, fight ICE, fight Kristi Noem, go after them, highlight the things that are unpopular. If some Democrats want to say abolish ICE, fine. If other ones want to say reform ICE, fine. But like, talk about how bad ICE is, and don't talk about how bad other Democrats are, because they're using the wrong word. And that is true from across the coalition. This is a non-ideological point. This is a strategic point.
This is how you reveal that you were a former Republican and have never really been a Democrat. This is so normal. In the most important moments where that require the most moral clarity, of course, Democrats are kind of bickering about what the best path is. It's just what they do. This is what they do.
Are Republican senators and House members going on the Ben Shapiro podcast and are writing memos that are like, should we be saying Renee Good rammed the ICE officer, or should we be saying she endangered the ICE officer? No, but I'm saying you can have a little bit of focus.
I've been basically, ripping my hair out watching it happen, because it's like the effort to try to find like the perfect manufactured proposal that will not offend the most people, but also show that you care is downright hilarious. The best one was the Richie Torres one. I don't know if you saw this one.
Put a QR code? QR codes on the ICE agents?
What the hell's going to happen
I saw somebody tweet that. I was like, this is the most third way coded shit I've ever seen in my life. And I'm like, that's fine.
How would that work? How would that work yesterday when the Verizon phone outages were happening? Hold on, sir. My internet's not coming. I can't upload the QR code.
Richie is targeting ICE. and not like nitpicking a tweet that some other Democrat sent. I truly can't imagine what might motivate somebody in this moment to use their energies to try to adjudicate, language arguments.
I think the issue here is more, it's not even like a disagreement over, how to do this in this moment. It's a larger disagreement over what the right tactical approach is to Trump. And this has been going on forever, which is, do you fight like every battle, or do you try to focus on certain battles because it's more friendly turf? And it's very clear.
Where's a lighter? Get me a lighter.
I know. It's very clear to me. It's like, no, you just fucking go, right? Like if they're sending troops into the street, or ICE officials and then potentially troops now, you don't just say, man, but healthcare is such a better issue for us. It's like, what do you, how do you live with yourself at that point?
Strategists are at fault. So the strategist talking to our friend Lauren Egan, this isn't the point of this. The ICE polling has changed dramatically because people can see things with their eyes. Okay.
Yeah.
So focus on the bad things people can see with their eyes. Talk about that and fight your factional internal battles, over which side of the party should be more powerful, and the fall of 2027, please, because we're in an urgent moment, and it's true. It's crazy. And I try to minimize the media criticism on here. I do think part of this, though, is also driven by, if you're doing a TV interview with the Democrat, this is the question you can ask them, right? You can say, isn't this terrible what ICE is doing? But then you want to seem balanced. And so you're like, are the Democrats mishandling their pushback in this moment? And that injects things into
I will just say this, though. Not to get into meta media commentary here, but if ever this showed the sort of, not irrelevance, but the diminished power of news, of program news, it's a story like this. Everyone is just basically seeing live stream coverage or clip videos and reacting to it. That guy who went on the street, who never protests, he didn't go out there because he was watching the morning segments on MSN, right? Or MS Now. He went there because he's probably being fed algorithmic videos showing his own community getting fucked up. And, I just think that's just and Democratic lawmakers should recognize that this is where the conversation is right now. And this is how people are consuming their news.
Okay. Deep breath.
Oof. That was a lot, man. But I will say I am outraged. Every night I go to bed and I'm streaming through these videos, and they're all horrible, and you just can't really sleep that well. And then you wake up and you're like, oh, Trump's now threatening to use the Insurrection Act, and just to start all over again. And it's exhausting, but it's outraging too. I find myself just being completely maddened by this.
It's brutal.
Yeah,
it's brutal. That's why I needed that guy. Our friend, the protester, the resistance, Rick Santelli.
We got to find him. Get him on the pod.
Because I needed him this morning. I needed that smile. It was the videos of the attack on the protesters came in at 10 p.m. last night.
Yeah.
I'm really? I'm just trying to watch the end of the Nuggets Mavericks. Washington Post reporter, I want to move on. Hannah, we dinged the MSM, so credit where due. Real reporters doing real journalism out there, including Hannah Nathanson at the Washington Post. She's been, gathering sources inside the government, people that are being fired, various other elements. And FBI agents searched her home on Wednesday as part of an investigation into a government contractor's handling of classified material. This is exceedingly rare. Even in investigations of classified disclosures, for federal agents to go after the reporter's home, it'd be one thing to go after the suspects of the leaker's home, right? But to go after the reporter's home is very rare. A 1980 law actually bars search warrants for reporters' work materials unless the reporters themselves are suspected of committing a crime. And they did confiscate the reporters' work materials in this situation. I think there's just a straight story about the autocracy, and then there's also a media story here. So just go with whichever one you want to take.
Well, obviously, it's people in the industry, it's really chilling. I think the public would say, well, whoever this person was potentially leaked classified information. She's not the subject of the probe. It makes sense to me that they would try to find out and try to get the information back, and maybe so. But it's an incredibly chilling and aggressive move that is directly at odds with my interpretation of the freedom of the press. We have the right to collect information that we then report on. And this reporter has been doing incredible work. I've been very jealous of her because when we, last year when we were doing a lot of the Doge reporting and we were getting a lot of people coming to us talking about what life was like in the federal government, I kept looking up and seeing the post getting great scoop after great scoop after great scoop. And what this will do in practical terms is it will send an incredible signal to anyone who's doing this type of reporting that you might get targeted by the government. And it will also send a signal to every source out there, potential source out there, that the government's going to come after you. I think that's obviously what the administration wants. The other element of this is, how is the Post going to respond to this?
Just really quick on that, and look at the Post response, because, again, that's why I mentioned the 1980 law. It's an attack on the First Amendment, right? Like the government is doing here is very chilling. This is not unprecedented like some of the other unprecedented stuff Trump has done. Other administrations have done this, but still, it's a total affront, and it's crazy to go and to confiscate her phone and her computer when she's not a suspect. That is totally wrong, and the type of stuff that you see in countries that have far less speech protections than we do in our country.
100%. Now, it's important to get to the press response because you were right. It's not unprecedented. There have been cases in the past, including during the Obama administration. My recollection is that during the Obama administration, when this did happen, there was a big outcry from throughout the industry, including from conservative publications, about what was happening. And so much so that the administration then put in place some standards outlined by Eric Holder, the Attorney General at the time, that would more or less police how the Department of Justice could go about doing these things, and gave some protections to reporters. Those were, of course, not law. They were standards. And so Pam Bondi undid them. But I'm not seeing that type of reaction now, right? Like, that's just not, there's no sympathy for the press, obviously, in the public, but also the people who you would expect from within the industry to say, hey, this is wrong. Some of them have spoken up, but not everybody. And obviously the most conspicuous absence is Jeff Bezos, who is the publisher of the Washington Post, has an incredible amount of business before the government, has sucked up to Trump repeatedly because he needs those government contracts and doesn't want to be targeted by him. But he is the publisher of the Washington Post. His employee had her personal computer confiscated by the government. If he believes in the First Amendment, if he believes in the institution of the Washington Post, he should speak out. But he's too much of a chicken shit right now to do so. And that's obviously disappointing.
There's already some reporting that the Washington Post employees are like, where is he? In a moment like this.
Oh, I know they are saying, where is he? I know. I've talked to some of them. They have been waiting all day yesterday to see anything. And they were hopeful that he might say something. And now they're hopeful that when he's asked about it at his next press availability, they assume he will be asked about it, that he'll say something. But that's like such a horrendously low bar that at some point in time down the road, Jeff Bezos might say something.
So the Salzburgers at the Times, they're not like the Jerry Joneses of media, right? Don't have their hands in everything over there in the day to day, but like in these big moments, they spoke out, and the leadership at these outlets spoke out and a lot of times showed a lot of courage pushing back against various administrations, including the first Trump administration. And like, if Bezos doesn't do that now, like, he should sell the paper.
Yeah.
He should sell the paper.
Well,
I don't really kind of understand what the point is of owning it anyway at this point for him. His initial conceit for it was that he wanted to have influence in democracy, and he cared about democracy dies in darkness, and he cares about all this stuff. He obviously doesn't anymore, and like, he's not making any money on it, and it's not doing its job of covering Washington that particularly well. And there's some good reporters there for sure.
No, they cover Washington well. They cover Washington.
I mean, they've been totally dominated though in the Hill by Fishbowl, and now we're getting to like media. Navel gazing, but they've been did I say Fishbowl? Punchbowl? My buddy Jake. Punchbowl. Sorry. They've been totally. We're going to leave that in. We've been totally dominated by Fishbowl, Jake Sherman, Punchbowl, and political activists. They're getting dominated. And it's not like the first term. Again, they're good reporters, though. It's not like the first term, the number of scoops and stuff that are coming out of the administration. Like, what is he doing? What's the point of this job? What's the point of having this paper?
I don't know. He should sell the paper if he doesn't want to do the bare minimum of standing up for his own employee being targeted by the government. And remember, he was supposed to revamp the editorial page to be libertarian minded. If you can't get your back up for the government taking your own employee's personal computer, I don't think you can call yourself a libertarian at that point.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't think so.
Liberty. Yeah, the editorial page of the Washington Post is going to focus on liberty now, economic and personal liberty. What about the personal liberty of your own reporter? Which just for the sickos, we should just say. Back in our day, we were coming up in our 20s. There was an outlet called Fishbowl DC that did like gossip. Like just,
I remember that.
It'd be like so and so was really drunk at a party at Ron Bonjean's house, and when they named it Punchbowl, I was like, that's like a little close for me to fish. And so anyway, I love Jake, and they're doing great work, but I think they brought it on themselves. I just think that millennial DC types are going to sometimes get them. A lot happened around here. One of the mailbag questions the other day was about how, where do I find the time to do chores? My answer was basically, I'm not really doing chores. Chores are falling through the cracks. And one of the things that I do like to do occasionally is cook, so it's not all DoorDash all the time around here. And our newest sponsor is helping make that as easy as possible for me. It's our friends at Tovala. This podcast is sponsored by Tovala. Tovala is a smart meal delivery service, fresh meals, and a smart oven that does the cooking for you. Tovala makes it so easy. You just scan the meal's QR code, pop it in the oven, and it cooks everything perfectly. Steams, bakes, broils automatically, no guesswork needed. During Tavala's New Year's sale, you can get a free Tovala smart oven when you order meals 6 or more times by heading to Tovala.com/Bulwark using my code Bulwark. I'm going to tell you, it's as easy as it sounds. Tovala feels like cooking in the future. It's like, remember, am I allowed to mention the George Foreman grill? Probably, because this is way better. Remember the old George Foreman grill? This is like, we're in the 21st century now, baby. We're in the Jetsons, okay? Say goodbye to old George. We love George and his 9 children that are all named George, but we're on a different level now with our friends at Tovala. Tavala's meals are chef-crafted and taste just like homemade meals you'd make for yourself, just without all the headache. Plus, all of Tavala's meals are made with real, fresh ingredients. And the smart oven isn't just for their meals. You can use it for other store-bought groceries like Eggo waffles, Pillsbury cinnamon rolls, and Amy's frozen meals, just to name a few. With Tovala, you can finally remove dinner from your to-do list for a limited time. Because you're a Bulwark listener, during Tavala's New Year's sale, you can get a free Tovala smart oven when you order meals 6 or more times by heading to Tovala.com/Bulwark using my code Bulwark. That's a free Tovala smart oven when you head to Tovala.com/Bulwark and use promo code Bulwark. One last time, that's Tovala.com, and make sure you use my promo code Bulwark for a free Tovala smart oven. Remember, with Tovala, dinner is taken care of. The Iran. Nice pivot from Fishbowl DC to Iran. So we talked about this a bit with Hartling yesterday, and I don't want to get, I think we'll leave the military strategy to him. But I want to talk about the politics and what's happening with Trump. There's a moment yesterday, Drudge had 24 hours, on a banner headline. It was relating to a story that had some sources that Trump was going to actually start attacks and within 24 hours. Maybe between the time we tape this time and post, they do. But, so the protests in Iran are ongoing. The crackdown is ongoing, but it seems like the protests are somewhat dissipating just based on reports in the region. There's obviously some limited ability to do that. The crackdowns are escalating from the regime. Trump said something to the effect of, we're only going to do this if it can be a clean hit. I don't want to get into a broader war. So there's maybe from the anti-Iran hawks, like our friend David Frum and others on social media, they're sensing that they might be backing down a little bit from engaging. What's your sense of where we're at? Or maybe we don't know. Maybe there's no way to get a sense. This is just all like Trump whim stuff.
Well, first, a commentary on how sick our society is, that we are looking at a couple metrics to figure out if we're going to go to war. One is pizza orders in and around the Pentagon. And the other is weird polymarket wagers. Are people swooping in to take the over on the war in the next 24 hours?
How does polymarket look right now? How does Kalshi look on the Iran war? I'll look at that while you talk. Yeah.
There was some major money moving on the wars happening soon, and everyone's like, someone's got inside information and they're trying to make a buck. And it's like, we have problems here. We got to get clean. So that's my commentary on that. On the issue of Trump and what's happening, the two stories that stood out. One was the one you referenced, which was
I will say, just as some evidence, the will Khamenei be out as supreme leader is tanking now in the in the markets. So the markets, the prediction markets are thinking Trump's not going to try to get rid of him. So there you go.
Can you look up Tate orders in and around the Pentagon to see how active it is?
I don't have that. I don't have that handy.
All right, fine. So the clean strike story. I thought that was the most important one. Obviously, Trump has a sort of preferred type of action when it comes to military campaigns, which is very narrow, very dramatic, lots of visuals, and very little follow-up. I mean, time and again, he likes the active war, but not the war. And I think that's basically what's happening here, where he's being, and the story was that he's being presented with options from the military, but none have said, oh, this could be quick, tactical, and you'll be done. And so I don't think, I think he has real reservations about doing anything that would involve a prolonged U.S. operation. That's just that. I have no inside information, but that's just my read on it. And the other one was that the Iranian regime decided to not execute this 26-year-old protester that had been planned. They were backing down. It looked to me, reading between lines, like a very clear effort to try to, give the Trump administration some sort of fig leaf to say, okay, hey, they've responded to our pressure. We can at least pump the brakes a little bit. And now, of course, you've noted the poly market wagers, which convinced me. Yeah.
We mentioned that that was an interesting story because Iran was saying that the deal is done. We're going to execute this guy.
Yeah.
And so that is a notable shift. Just one little side element of the story is just something I just have to get off my chest. And I feel like I'm a good messenger for this because I share the Iran hawks' hatred for the administration, and I share their support for the freedom of the Iranian people, and I even share some of their annoyance with the fact that there were a lot of people that were engaged in the Gaza protests that really only seem to care about bad stuff when Israel happens. I share that annoyance, but the talking point of where are the campus protests of Israel is so stupid that I really would like to just say really quick, the point of a protest is to protest stuff that you can affect change. And the Israel protests started because they didn't like that their universities were engaging in investment or in shared classes or whatever with Israel. Now you can think that's a stupid thing to protest, okay, but no, we already hate Iran. We're not doing any business with Iran. You can't protest our government. We're not sending weapons to Iran. There's nothing to protest. So this talking point is all over Fox. I'm seeing it everywhere, and it doesn't make any sense. The talking point is made by people who don't understand what the point of protest is. So anyway, that's that. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
The only thing I would add is, the people protesting Biden on Gaza intellectually should have been protesting Trump on Gaza, right? Trump was
sure, yeah. Now that's an apples to apples.
No,
yeah.
However, my point is, the reason they didn't is because instinctively they know that Trump doesn't give a shit about them. and they know that Biden probably does. And though he was frustratingly slow in changing and
because they're annoying, you're switching me to the other side now. They should have protested Trump too.
They should have. Yeah. They should have. But I'm just saying they know that Trump doesn't give a shit.
Well, we're talking about Jewish material with you, Jewish news.
Good.
The other bad news,
wait, where are we going space, here?
Is this horrible story out of Mississippi.
Oh God, yeah,
which awful. I haven't mentioned all week. I just wanted to. The synagogue gets set on fire, I guess, by a 19-year-old.
You don't have to guess. It was set on fire. Yeah, it was arson, and it's horrible. And it's the same synagogue that was attacked by the Ku Klux Klan. It's, I don't need to go on a limb, but there's not, I'm assuming, a huge Jewish population in Mississippi. So, this is a tight community that's probably incredibly scared right now. And this guy, I haven't done enough reading on it to speak authoritatively about it, but
I can speak about the guy. Yeah. He's a 19-year-old suspect who posted an anti-Semitic cartoon on Instagram. He had a scripture-backed fitness persona on Instagram. So, that's where his perspective was coming from. And I guess his parents tried to talk him down from his views.
Well, the father turned him in.
Yeah.
Look, this is a real problem. I think there's a real radicalization happening, predominantly in the online discourse, that sees Jews as a real threat to everything. And it's only logical that they take what they see online. I mean, they're being pumped with shit from Candace Owens saying, like, Mossad killed Charlie Kirk and all that stuff. And then they run with it. And it's a very tense time for the Jewish community right now. Not great.
Not great. And I think that part of the reason why, that's the reason why I want to keep talking about this is like that pipeline is very real, and it's a two-way. People that are conservative that then are watching Candace and Tucker and then start getting into Nick Fuentes and start getting into more like real anti-Semitic Groyper shit. And same with the one thing I've talked about with Chris Hayes and others, which is like lefty protester types who start listening to Tucker and Candace and saying they're really making sense on Israel. Yep. And then people are going down this radicalization pipeline, and this is the result. Just this tragic story in Mississippi. I want to do a cabinet update with you.
Oh, yay.
We have a running kind of bit. People that are not following our YouTube page, we're audio only, do subscribe to us on YouTube. Where Sam and I kind of rank the worst cabinet members. And two of the kind of lesser known cabinet members in the last 24 hours have really made a bid to try to get themselves up into that top tier with Scott Bessent and Kristi Noem and et cetera. And that's our Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, and previously our highest ranked cabinet secretary, Doug Burgum of the Interior. Who do you want to take first? Why don't we take Brooke Rollins first? Okay. This is Brooke Rollins. She has some thoughts about, about grocery prices and why people should feel good about the trajectory we're on.
I think the question you're asking, and it's a really important one, is while we're asking Americans to reconsider what they're eating, are we actually asking Americans, especially those who are living on the margins, are we asking them to spend more on their diet? And the answer to that is no. We've run over 1,000 simulations. It can cost around $3 a meal for a piece of chicken, a piece of broccoli, corn tortilla, and one other thing. And so there is a way to do this.
That's right. Piece of chicken, piece of broccoli, corn tortilla, and one other thing. Ran 1,000 simulations. I've ran one simulation, and I'm still hungry as fuck after eating that. Okay, well, hold on. That is a rabbit's meal. That is a rabbit's. What?
What did you choose for your one other thing, though?
What did I choose? A Snickers bar. I chose a Snickers bar to try to fill my stomach. I'm hungry. Why wait?
This morning for my breakfast, I took the tortilla and I had a broccoli. I chopped it up and a piece of chicken. My one other thing. My one other thing was also a Snickers bar. I put it in the tortilla, microwaved it. Yeah. I ate it. I threw it up because it was so disgusting. But I felt
we
full.
Call that a Cajun enchilada, down here.
I felt full because I had the Snickers bar in there, and it was only $3, so I could do it again for lunch.
What? How does that come out?
Do you think she really ran 1,000 simulations? I mean, what are we talking about? Would you think there's people back there being like, "Here, we have 1,000."
Sure, I know. I think it's the same AI.
What if we pair this with this?
Yeah, I think it's the same AI that made anybody whose resume said the word officer on it a fast tracked for ICE. A role at ICE. I'm surprised it was only 1,000 simulations.
Take the cup of milk, a slice of cheese, a scoop of peanut butter, mix it together. What the hell are we doing?
This is communist shit. This is communist. Okay? This is like food rationing. This is communist. We are in 1989 USSR, and the Secretary of Agriculture is like, you know what, guys? I'm tired of these libtards out there talking about how the price of groceries is increasing. If everybody would just have a chicken in their backyard and grow and have a little broccoli garden, they could eat for free. All they'd have to do is go to Costco, buy one of those supersized 2-size pack of tortillas, and then they'd have one tortilla a morning, and then they would go kill the chicken that they have in their backyard. Like, what?
Well, the thing that really made the clip was when she said a piece of broccoli, because you just have this image of this like one solitary piece of broccoli. They got to work on those topics.
If you go back to our rankings for the end of the year, I had Brooke Rollins as a sleeper. I do want to say that. I think that people are missing how
sleeper
bad
good or
is.
Sleeper bad?
Bad, sleeper bad. Yeah, she was higher on my list than yours. Okay. We both have liked Doug Burgum. It's guys named Doug are likable. Just a name Doug. You know, he seems relatively inoffensive, but then he had to go and do this. Yesterday he put up this meme that is a picture of the new interior of America, and it's includes Greenland. And the meme shows how in the new interior, actually the flight to nuke Greenland is shorter than the flight to Alaska. And so we should just seize it, I guess. I don't know.
Just to be clear, when you said the flight to nuke Greenland, you meant the capital of Greenland, not the flight to go nuke Greenland. The people who are listening, I want to clarify. Tim's not, and Doug did not say, I want to take a 6-hour flight to nuke.
Good clarification. Some problems with that. I mean, it's quicker, for example, for me to get to Bogota from New Orleans than it is to get to Anchorage.
Yeah.
And so it's not. It doesn't mean we should. I don't think we should seize every piece of land that is a shorter flight than the flight to Anchorage. I honestly, I think you could get from DC to Portugal. You could get onto the European continent quicker than you can get to Alaska.
Don't give them ideas. Don't give them ideas.
I know the Canadians got mad at me for doing this yesterday, but I was like, I would like to hear somebody like Doug. If Doug would come on the show, you're invited to come on the show, Secretary Burgum. Like, what is the rationale for taking Greenland that doesn't apply to Canada? Because if the rationale is security in the Arctic, Canada has a lot more territory in the Arctic. It's a lot closer to Russia than Greenland. If we're worried about threats from Russia, I can't really think of a rationale for taking Greenland that would not apply to Canada, and there's no rationale based on flight length that would not apply to the European continent and much of Central America. And I like why, and they're serious, but this is the thing. Like, it's not. They're very serious. Goof. This is not a goof. They're serious about this.
Totally serious. I'm going to stick by Doug. First of all, he's a Doug. Sometimes you got to do these things. But the Greenland thing is very serious, and I don't really understand it.
Once you go in full imperialist, I'm off the board on Doug's. Sorry, you're a bad Doug now.
There is no such thing. There's a Wall Street Journal.
Doug Christie is a horrible coach. This is Kings. I think there are bad Dougs out there. Sorry, go ahead.
Maybe one or two. The journal article about Greenland was like basically like, this is an economic wasteland. Like there's like you think there's minerals to mine and all this great natural resources. They're like, no, it's ice, and it will take decades to make it profitable. And the people there basically are welfare recipients because they benefit from the Denmark economy and their social system. I understand, I guess, in theory, that Trump looks at a map and he sees a big island. He's like, I want that. But other than that, I have yet to see a really convincing explanation for what the motivation is here. Because you're right. If it is about Arctic security, if it is about economic vitality, if it is about, pushing back against the Russians, Canada is better.
Do you know the I-5 killer was named Douglas Gretzler, and the Sunset Strip killer was named Doug Clark?
Did you just look up bad Dougs or something?
Douglas Franklin Wright was an Oregon serial killer active from the late 1960s all the way to the 1990s. 30 years of killing in Oregon from Doug.
Fair point. You'll have a few bad apples, but I would just argue, and I wrote an article. People can go look at it. I wrote an article on Dougs for Politico. So I'm pretty well.
Did you include Douglas Baptista, known as the Sal Vicente Maniac? He's a Brazilian serial killer who drowned at least 8 children.
I must have missed that in my research, but I would argue that by per capita, there are few bad apples with respect to Dougs.
France is sending troops to Greenland.
Not just France.
Denmark?
Countries. I think Germany is too. Double check that in the comments. But yeah, this is weird, right? Are we gonna have open confrontation with the European countries? Are there gonna be shots fired here? Wouldn't rule it out.
France is doing military exercises on Greenland to deter us.
Us.
Not Russia. Us. Hertling was good on this yesterday on the Ukraine thing, by the way, and I just want to let this go because as I will continue to repeat, totally on the side of the Iranian protesters. If there are things that we can do to be helpful to the protesters, I think we should do them. But Ukraine is an ally of ours. They were invaded. The Russia is bombing their energy sources right now, so people don't have heating. It's going to be negative degrees in Ukraine this week, and people are freezing to death. And amidst that, Donald Trump, when asked like what the holdup is on his day one peace deal, he blames Zelensky again this week. He blames Zelensky.
Back to the beginning here.
And so fuck this guy. And it's just horrific that like right now we're in a confrontation with Denmark and France. We are in a confrontation with people in American cities, with our own citizens. And we're abandoning Ukrainians who are freezing after being attacked by the Russians. And simultaneously, he's like, "Oh, we're very serious about human rights in Iran." It's kind of hard to take that seriously.
No, it's the whole. I can't believe we're back now to square one again with Trump and Zelensky. I mean, it's like, well, I guess I should be able to believe it because this is how it always goes, right? Starts talking tough on Putin, and then out of nowhere, it's like, actually, no, it's Zelensky's fault, and here we are again.
All right, last thing. I didn't get to my potpourri. I have to get to a flight, but no. This was the end gag of the potpourri was going to be that the other thing I haven't mentioned all week on this podcast is the Epstein files, and I'm not one of those that thinks that like this is all a intentional distraction. And I think that like flooding the zone with shit is Trump's natural state of being always, right. And so like in some ways it's a bonus that it's a distraction for sure. I just don't think that's a motivating factor. I listed the 3 motivating factors for what he's doing in Minnesota, but. It's pretty fucking noteworthy that they haven't released a batch of the Epstein files since December 23rd.
It's crazy. I mean, it's shocking to me. They were required by law to release these things, and they then dribbled it out a little bit, just made sure all the Bill Clinton photos got out there, and then decided that, oh, wait, we discovered 1 million more in the Southern District of New York, and then we're like, we can't get to this. All while saying they've been devoting hundreds of people towards the project and countless hours to scrub these things. We haven't seen a single file in weeks, right? I mean, when's the last drop we had? It's a flagrant violation.
December 23rd, I think. I think it was December 23rd.
Yeah, it is a flagrant violation of the law. And I mean, are they going to get away with it? Like, what are the remedies?
I don't think
here?
so. Is the good news because Robert Garcia has been great about this and oversight. And if the Democrats take back the House, which I suspect they will, this could be at the top of the agenda. So, but who knows I don't know. What kind of other cover-up stuff they're doing in the meantime.
It's crazy. Know. You can't trust them to put out any of these, and you can't trust what they put out to be the full story, right? I mean, they're just going to obviously send. It's like yeah.
Dan Bongino. The good news is Dan Bongino's back in the podcast space, so I'm sure he'll be holding the administration accountable on this. Shout out though, you salute people now at the end of news programs, and so I do want to salute the man on the floor of the Ford factory who shouted "pedophile protector" at Donald Trump, and where he gave him the stumpy little middle finger that he's got. The president did, and in addition to saluting our friend on the street of Minneapolis. That was saying this is nuts.
We got to get that guy. We got to find that guy. Yeah.
Can we take it out? We're going to take it out with him one more time. We'll play it. We'll play it for you guys. In lieu of our outro song today, we're going to play our real American hero, the man on the street in Minneapolis. I appreciate you, Sam Stein. We'll be back for a great MLK weekend podcast tomorrow. We'll see everybody else then.
Later, buddy.
Bye. Peace.
I gotta work in the goddamn morning, just like everybody else. I'm just here trying to stand up for community, dude. We're all human beings here. I don't give a shit who you are, where you came from, what color you are. It doesn't fucking matter. This is wrong.